This is the Small Church Media Podcast with Mark Hyde.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the Small Church Media Podcast. Now, right off the bat, I have to apologize. You know, I like to say I want to give you guys your weekly church media fix within 10 minutes. That's always the goal. But it only took 4 episodes for me to flat out lie to you guys. I went about 15 minutes last week. So this week in this conversation, we're going to try to get back to that 10-minute mark. Sound good? Let's see if it's going to happen. You know, the last few weeks, we've had some really great conversations about Google My Business, what types of social media posts you should be doing for your church, and hey, even where to post your church's sermons online. But today, we're going to be asking the question of what's more important, a church Facebook page or a church website. Now, really recently, I was talking with a pastor, and they have a decent website. It's really not that bad. He's a friend of mine that goes way back, so he asked me to be honest about it. And he told me that even though his church website it's mediocre, it's not bad, it's not great, it's not the biggest thing to brag about, he feels that it's nowhere near as important as what's happening on their Facebook page. But then I talked to other pastors and they say, you know what, we don't have a Facebook page, or if we do, we just use it for live streaming. We have a church website and we're still growing. So apparently we don't need to use Facebook. So here's the question that I have that we're going to answer today is, which is more important, Facebook or a website? Now, right off the bat, it's very obvious that Facebook is an amazing platform to let people get a look into your church in real time or very soon to real time. You know, the events that you have going on, whether a sports camp or a VBS or student ministry or women's event, men's event, pictures from the sermon or from the worship experience, whatever you want to post on your church's Facebook page, that is real, active, relevant information that people can like, share, and put out to the whole world, which a lot of people like that aspect of media because they'll post it on their Facebook page or, hey, maybe even reshare it on their Instagram stories, and their friend will write them back and say, hey, that looks really cool. Can I be part of that as well? But when people are going to look for information about your church, are they going to be able to find it on Facebook? You know, and this is the beautiful power of a website. You know, the purpose of your church website is to systematically consolidate everything that you want someone to know about your church before they even step into your doors. You know, you're able to write down what your church's beliefs are. You're able to write down who your church leadership team is, answer questions that they have about parking or dress or music or what to do with their kids, what to do with their students. Is there a ministry that could serve them and their family? Is there a way they can even get involved in your church? And of course, you can make these posts on Facebook. That's a really obvious thing that you could do. But the thing about social media is once you post something on social media, it only takes a couple hours for it to pretty much disappear. And in Facebook, it might be a few days. But eventually, after you post something, it's going to disappear for quite some time. Whereas your website, it's able to create one centralized location that can store all of the relative information. So going back to the question of what should you focus on, in my opinion, it might be obvious already, but I really think that if you are a small church with very limited time and very limited budget, you should put your eggs into the website category rather than put everything into the Facebook category. And here's why. It's no question at all that your church website, your church's Facebook page, and your church Instagram page is probably not going to be the reason why someone walks into your doors. Now, obviously, there's people that are out there, they're looking for churches to attend. Maybe they moved into the area. Maybe they have some questions that they want answered just about faith and how the world is working. Or, hey, maybe that they saw a post or a sermon snippet that your church posted on Facebook, and they go, I want to visit that church. There are plenty of people like that. No questions about it. However, it's pretty obvious that it's not media that brings people to church, but it's actually other people bringing people to church. I'm sure you know this already, but normally in a small church where growth happens, where visitor numbers go up, is not necessarily directly related to Facebook pages or websites, but it's just your own people going out, sharing their faith and saying, hey, come and experience this with me. And if your church is doing what they're supposed to be doing and going and sharing their faith and introducing people to Jesus, and even maybe say, hey, do you want to come worship with me on a Sunday? People are going to go, okay, great. Tell me about your church. And they're going to have questions about what the church, what goes on at the church. What time should they be there? What is it going to look like? What is the leadership? Can they know a little bit more about what's going on with their kids? You know, they might go to Facebook and look at pictures, but from what I have seen in my own personal experience, our church's website had a lot more hits than it ever did with Facebook. Now, that's not to say Facebook doesn't have their place at all. On Facebook, we've done a lot of amazing promotional stuff with VBS to get a lot of people to our VBS. We recently had a hog roast that we did, and we used Facebook ads to get a large attendance just to let people in the community know, hey, this is what's going on. But all of those posts had something in common, and that one thing in common was a link that took them back to our church's website to let them register for it. So even if you're doing a lot of cool things on Facebook, I really think personally, what's more important, a church Facebook page versus a church website? In my opinion, you need to at least have a website for your church. I viewed it this way. We talked about this before here on the podcast, but your church website is pretty much the front door into your church. Someone probably will not visit your church until they hit your website, whereas Facebook is more like your church windows, if that's the best way to describe it, where people can look into the church, but they probably won't step into your church until they go to your church's website. So what does that mean for you? It means that, church, you probably should focus on making sure your website is in order before you make sure your social media is in order. The really nice thing about having a church website as well is that you don't have to upgrade it, or not upgrade it. You don't have to update it as much. Facebook, you got to be posting stuff, they say, every single day to actually get traction. Whereas your church website, you really only need to update pictures maybe once a year, once every other year, based on how things go. Maybe you need to update some text or some hours, or hey, here's our new COVID policies. Here's our new sickness policy for kids. Here's the new sermon series that we have going on. But a good website is able to do all of these things and help you save time, but also still be effective. So again, if you're going to ask me what's more important, I would say having your church website in order is way more important than having your church's Facebook page in order. Well, hey guys, just like always, if you have any other questions about church media, maybe your church needs some help with getting your website in order, getting your social media in order, feel free to hit me up, markhyde.com, or my email is hello@markhyde.com. I'd love to have that conversation with you and just see what we can do to help bring your church into the 21st century with church media. But hey guys, until next time, take it easy.
The Small Church Media Podcast is a part of Mark Hyde Creative.